Hey guys, my name is Angelia and welcome back to my channel and welcome to a roofing tutorial. I put up a poll on our community tab and most of you want to see roofing tutorial, so if you struggle with roofing, we're gonna cover it. Hopefully this will help you guys out a little bit. I may not be the best at roofing, but we're gonna cover how to do just a simple roof for just a normal family home, suburban home, whatever you want to call it. I didn't want to go into modern roofing here because that can be a little bit finicky and that's more for personal taste. You know, they're very sleek and stuff like that. So we're going to be covering a few points. We're going to start over here with this house. I did already pre-roof these guys just so I can make the shape the way I wanted them to be. So my biggest tip, number one, don't be afraid to mess around with it. Get creative. The roofing will not hurt you if you keep playing around with it. That was the biggest thing I had to tell myself when it came down to actually going ahead and doing roofing. Was I don't have to make it perfect the first time. I can mess around with it, see what fits. And the second tip I have, look at pictures. Look at the houses in your neighborhood even. Look at pictures online and how the roofing is. You need to make an interesting shape. If you were to just take a roofing piece and just have these plastered everywhere, yeah, it would get the job done, of course. You know, you can do that if you want to, and then just place another one right here. And, you know, just keep going from there. Just make the whole thing comprised of that, and there's nothing wrong with that. I like to blend mine in a little bit more and give them some interesting shapes so that the roof itself looks interesting as well, and to me that makes it look more come together, I guess, if you want to put it that way. Another tip, rearrange your house. I know that sounds crazy, but you guys have seen me do it in speed builds, all that fun stuff. If you were to create a house shape, say it's like this, and then we have like a little shape out like this. Maybe the roofing doesn't look great on this one. You know what I mean? Like, you just can't get it to fit. Oh, let's see what we want to do here. Again, this is just me showing you how I create at the moment. Say you have this and you're like, wow, this looks weird like that. Readjust the house. Just readjust the house. Trust me, it won't make that big of a difference. This is why it's super important to do the outside first, in my opinion. It's hard to decorate the inside of the house when the outside is not done. When the outside structure is not set. So like, say we wanted this to like blend in and it just doesn't, you know? So what I would do is pull this out. Now it kind of sits in there. You can even lower this guy a bit so it blends in right there. This isn't the prettiest build, okay? But that works. Do you see how it blends in? I adjusted this piece right here. Or excuse me, I adjusted this piece so it would become seamless right here. And that's all you have to do. Adjust the house to fit the roof. It's not even usually big things. It'll usually be just like cutting off a square right here. Like when I was working on this one, I believe this was actually pulled all the way over like that, but I didn't like the way it looked in terms of roofing. So I made it smaller. That's all you have to do. Okay. And again, think of roofing as a puzzle piece. It's very simple once you get the hang of it. And also don't be afraid to layer your roofing. Okay. That's how so many of us are able to get specific shapes. So let's go ahead and we're going to do some live roofing right now. I will upload 2 versions of this lot to the gallery. I'm going to upload one with no roof whatsoever so you guys can practice. And then I'm going to upload the version with the roofing on there so you guys can see what it's supposed to look like, or how I made it look, rather, not what it's supposed to look like, because it can look like whatever you please. So I'm just going to tug this guy back. I'm gonna make that smaller because I don't like these like super tall. I always like the eaves out. I just think that looks better in my opinion. I don't know. I like it, so that's what we're working with. We are actually going to layer a few of these little triangle pieces here. I'm just gonna call them little triangle pieces because it's easier that way. All right, let's bonk that down to right about there. I'm just going to copy and actually, you know what? We are going to copy and paste this one. That way, it keeps the same angle. Do you see how it matches up? Even if and when I pull it over, which I don't think it's that much pulled over. I'm sorry, I'm like looking at a picture at the same time. Yeah, it's right about there. We are going to tug it back here. Yank that over there. But you see, even when we're manipulating it, it still lines up right there. So it's a seamless blend. I happen to enjoy that. It just works better. So see, even though these are like all the same types of roof, they're kind of layered and they look a little bit different. So now we're going to change it up again. We are going to use this guy. I'm going to put him up here to cover the porch. Let's just pull that down. I'm trying to make sure it's lined up down here. I'm pretty sure it is. So we're just going to tug that inward. Why is that not blending? Oh, I don't have the other roof piece there just yet. Okay. Okay. So, another tip. You obviously want this to blend in. But do you see this over here? You can just hold down your shift key and drag it over. However, do you see how it's still like that? It's not going to work, right? Of course not. So, we are going to copy this piece and shift it over. Shrink that. And there you go. It's completely blended in. You just have to use 2 pieces of it. Totally fine to do so. Okay, you can't tell. You'll just have to make sure you're able to hit both of them with the roofing tile. Let me actually pop one on so you guys can kind of see the difference. See, you just have to make sure to click that. Just so everything looks seamless and it blends in, which it's doing now. So let's go over to this guy. We're going to use one of these pieces because, again, we want to make interesting shapes. We don't want things to be boring. We want some fun shapes here with the roofing. So I'm going to pull that guy down and we are going to tug it into that roof so it actually sits in there. Just to, again, give it an interesting shape. Did I put one of these here? I think I did. So I am now going to fill up this spot. We're going to tug that in there. We're going to tug that all the way into this roof so it actually blends in. And I am going to yank that downward. Okay, I'm going to yank that. That's a little bit too much, isn't it? Let's see if we hold down shift and tug that. That works. Let's make this a little bit smaller. And now that blends. See, everything's about just micro adjusting once you get to this point and making sure that everything blends in. Okay, so we have this part of the house done. And again, feel free to download this lot off the gallery, the one that has no roofing, and roof along with me, just so you can get the hang of it. And again, I'm uploading a version of it with the roof complete because I want you guys to be able to pick it apart, to actually get your hands on it and see what works and what doesn't for you. I'm just going to copy and paste this guy right there. And this one is about done, I would say. Very simple. I kept it a 1-story to make it simple. Again, this is the only layering part that I really did for this one. And it blends in pretty darn well, if I do say so myself. Let's see what it looks like with a roof trim. Obviously, there are going to be way less cuts on this video because I want you guys to be able to see what I'm doing in real time. All right. It's looking pretty good. So let's now move on to our 2-story. 2 stories can also be a little bit intimidating because my number 1 tip with the 2-story, do not make it go straight up. And what I mean by that is, don't do this. Okay? Don't have all the bottom row just go straight up. You will not have an interesting shape for the house itself, and you won't have an interesting looking roof. Again, it's doable. There are some cases, obviously, where it works, like apartment buildings and things like that. For just like a normal house, I feel like you're safe to play around with it, okay? Again, roofing is not super hard. You just kind of have to work with it a little bit here. Again, figure out what works for you in terms of all this fun stuff. I'm not quite sure if I like this piece, but I'm going to leave it here. And again, play around the shapes that you like. So say if I decide I don't like them anymore and I get rid of it, maybe I'll try this one. Fits perfectly right there. It doesn't look bad. Let's actually make it a little bit smaller. Let's see what this looks like with the rest of the house, and then we'll go back and see if we still like this piece or if we want to switch it back to the half-hipped or, you know, whatever you want to do. Right here, I don't have move objects on. I had to turn on move objects. I realized I did not have that on. And I had already placed windows, so. That doesn't look bad. That looks okay. I like having the porches and stuff covered. I didn't want to do it with this one. You can. If you want to just tug this out, you will just need to hold down shift, use this arrow, tug that up so it doesn't quite interfere with that, and it should be fine. Or use a different roof type. I didn't cover this porch. I thought this one would be okay without it. Now over here, we did cover the porch. Okay, so this is when I would put in like little pillars to hold it up, essentially. You know, just to make it look a little realistic. Pretend there's stuff there. We'll put that there, and then like, I would put stairs. I'm just gonna grab any old stairs. We're just gonna put the stairs right there. No big deal. Grab a simple fence. Voila. Front porch done. Okay. I just like having the pillars there just to kind of make it look like it's being held up by something. And not just free floating in the air, which, I mean, they could probably do. I'm going to save this part for last because that's actually one of my favorite things to do, which I learned when I was actually making the house for the second For Immortal Sisters challenge that we did. I kind of want to see what this will look like here. It's not too bad. It actually works. I like the shape that it gives it on the side. Again, roofing's all about creating fun shapes. You want to make it look interesting and dynamic from either side. So it creates some height on the side. It creates this interesting texture right here. I like that right there. It looks like we're mostly done with the bottom. So we're going to do this right now. So for when you have like just even a 1 or a 2 space little thing right here, my favorite thing to do is grab a half-hipped roof. It's going to plunk him down. We are going to make it just a 1. Usually I go up about 1 or 2. Let's do 1. I will extend out the eaves, and then we're going to drag it to the side. Okay, so that fits perfectly right there. I'm going to copy this. We're going to turn it, and we are going to just plunk him down right here. Now this one I will drag in further so it blends in. Again, blending is everything. Copy this. We're gonna put that to the edge, drag this to the edge. And now you have this entire roof piece done and it completely blends in. It's a quick, simple way to do the roofing on like a smaller ledge, so you don't have to make a balcony or try to put this there, which you can if you want to. You can totally line it with that. It just might look a little wonky if you have like 2 or 3 sides exposed. You know what I mean? So like, say this piece was not here. Okay. Then I would say, yeah, you can totally put one of those here. But because that piece is there, it'll look weird if it's not layered correctly. So that's why I just like to do that. I feel like it's just a little bit easier. Now for the top, this is actually going to be a pretty quick, I think, roofing process. Because it's, I can see already 3. So what I mean by that, when I'm saying I have 3 like chunks, essentially, I'm seeing this spot right here, the spot right here, and then the spot right here. So that's how I'm going to attempt to layer this. This one I did not quite finish, so we're actually doing most of this together. Yeah, I like it. I always like my little roofs like this a little bit shorter. I don't like them super tall. I don't know, I feel like on actual houses they're not super duper tall. I think this will work. Let's pull that out. Oh, I'm seeing another roofing issue, which we will address in just a second. So if you hold down the Alt key, click on your roof, and you have complete free range of motion, it will not snap to a specific position. I'm just going to tug that a little bit underneath this so it actually sits into the roof. So if we come over here, like, oh crap, there's a problem here. Okay, no big deal. We're going to copy this piece again. We're going to just put it there. Okay. I'm going to shrink the eaves, and then we're going to select the one with the longer eaves again and pull it back to right about there. Hold down Shift and tug the tiny arrow backwards. Problem solved. So you have 2 roofs here, but this one did not decide to line up, so I'm just going to yank that one back up to normal size because it decided to not blend it in. But there we go. So we now have 2 pieces here. Completely separate pieces, but they form that one part of the roof. So if you ever run into the issues with this cutting through, that's all you have to do. Just layer it twice, okay? Use 2 separate roof pieces, pull the actual eave part to the part that you don't want it to cut through at. Okay, and then take this one and just shrink up the eaves. And it fixes that problem almost immediately. So there we have that. That part's fixed. I'm just gonna make this one a little bit taller now since the other one was being a little bit finicky. That works. Just for the purposes of this video. That totally works. What do we want to use here? I think we're gonna go for a half-hipped. Because we've used a lot of, what are these called? We've used a lot of gables. So again, keep it interesting. Gonna shrink this guy down a little bit more. I think I kind of want it to be a little bit tinier. Pull that into there. Let's see. Actually, no, let's go down one more to create that shape. Okay, so we now have 2 houses completely roofed and done. It didn't take too long. It only took us, let me see how many minutes that took me. It took about 15 minutes maybe. It's not super duper hard. Roofing was incredibly daunting for me when I really started getting into building more. And then I just started looking at photos and playing around with it. That's the biggest tip I can give you. Play around with the roofing. I promise it will not bite you. It gets a lot easier when you actually sit and play with it and try to figure out how these pieces can all fit together. Do you know what I mean? Okay, sorry, I had to put that one on there. Why didn't you get an eave? They're being finicky today. That's pretty much the basics of roofing. It's very simple. Again, make sure you create interesting shapes. Shape your house to fit the roof. Again, you guys have seen me do it in speed builds 100 times. I usually point out when I'm doing it. So pay attention to that. Okay, if you have 2 roof pieces that you don't like the way that they're fitting together, just adjust the house. That's what I do. It's the easiest way. And then I go from there. Then I go into the house and I start creating floor plans. I start breaking up these walls, doing whatever I need to do inside the house. Because bottom line is the inside of the house is going to remain untouched until you're done with the outside. So do the outside first, make the house fit the roof if you need to, and then move to the inside of the house. Roofing doesn't have to be difficult, but again, I will totally upload both versions of this to the gallery so you guys can practice, so you guys can actually get your hands in, like, that's another tip actually. Download houses from the gallery. Obviously not the residential rental. I don't know if that's quite fixed. I'm too afraid to test it. Download houses and play with the roofs. Okay, take them apart. Like just start moving them and see what layers are here. Okay, that's another big way that I learned. I started taking apart houses. Even my own houses, I was taking them apart and seeing what was working for me and what wasn't. Like the glass roofing technique and stuff like that. Take things apart and then try to rebuild it. It's actually a really good teacher, to be fair. Like that's one of the best ways I've learned. Also by looking at photos. But don't beat yourself up if your roof does not look exactly like the photo, because what translates well in real life does not always translate well in The Sims. So another roofing style that I want to show you is I added this right here to the house. No big deal. It might just look a little bit weird sitting here. Maybe we can move it over here actually. Let's put it right here just so you can kind of see it a little better. If I can get it there. Okay, so say you want to do like a little bay window type thing. You're going to grab the 8-piece. Or the 8-side one. This is the only one that will work for this one unless you make it smaller. Just pull out the eaves and you're good to go. Go like that, whatever. Use the 8-sided one. This one can work in certain circumstances, but it's like at a weird angle. Okay, so you're gonna have issues with it fitting unless the room itself is shaped that way. This one will be a little bit easier, but only if this came to a point right here. So let's go ahead and look at that. Okay, the roof does not want to go away. Let's go with it like that. Okay, let's just delete all of that. This is gonna be a bit of a mess right there, but that's okay. So that would work if it was more like this sort of a deal. Okay, so we're gonna take this guy, plunk him up there. Actually, he might be a little bit bigger. So as you can see, this roof, it doesn't work that well. If you can figure out a use for it, by all means, but I prefer I prefer the roof with the 8 sides. I just feel like it fits better when you're trying to do a bay window, when you're trying to do anything like that. Like a little princess tower type situation. It works very well. As you can see right from here. It works very, very well. I've made plenty of towers and, you know, the octagonal, whatever the crap you want to call it, walls and stuff like that with this roof. So 10 out of 10. Use that one. It's probably the best one out of those like circular-ish ones. Speaking of the circular roofing, I have tried and it always cuts through something. It's kind of glitchy. But just for basic suburban homes, basic family homes, stick with the basics, like these 4 will be your best friend. And then start playing around with more shapes, okay? And when you're comfortable with it, start playing around with it. But yeah, so that is my little roofing tutorial tips guide. I hope that this helps some of you to better understand roofing, and to hopefully not be as intimidated by it. I know it can be a little bit weird at first, and it's kind of daunting, and you're just like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do this. You totally can. I have all the faith in you. Again, this entire lot will be up on the gallery. This is a lot in Newcrest. I just kind of plopped them down. I will even upload them as separate houses if you don't want to put them on this lot in this way, just to make it easier and you guys can grab whatever the heck you want. My gallery ID is AngeliaAnn. It'll be in the description below, so you can check that out on the gallery. I hope this helps. Again, don't be afraid of it. Play around with it. Think of it as a puzzle. Okay, that's best advice I can give you. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a magical day, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!